So I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and it was 18 years ago Teen Titans ended on Cartoon Network. And of course, it was the episode called Things Change, where Beast Boy winds up finding Terra, and she's going through a normal life as a high school girl, and she doesn't remember her time with the Titans, her time as being a superhero, and so on and so forth. And I read a lot of the comments underneath this thread, and I sympathize with that because I used to feel that way all the time. Like back when this show was on Cartoon Network, I didn't even know this was the last episode, and then when I found out, it pretty much like hurt my soul even more. But growing up and still watching this show, it kind of made me feel like this was the perfect ending to Teen Titans. Now let me explain. Now it was clear from the jump that Terra was a very complex character. Now it was clear that when she first meets the Titans that she had a lot of great power, but then she doesn't know how to control that power. But even after all that, the team accepted her as one of their own, and they still call her a friend, which hurts all the more when it turns out that she was a spy working for Slade and winded up betraying the ones that called her friend. Like, girl, they gave you a home and made you feel like you were part of the family, and you turned on them just like that? And I especially felt bad for Beast Boy because this man was literally like by your side from the very beginning, and you turned on him just like that, which would make sense that after he discovered the truth that Beast Boy would turn on her too. And even though that Beast Boy had a right to feel the way that he did, this was the catalyst that Slade was looking for in order to make Terra turn to the dark side, so to speak. And then when we see her again, she's now Slade's apprentice, which led her to fighting the Titans one by one and beating every last one of them. And then after this, they weren't going to hold back the next time they see her. But one thing that stuck with me as a kid is that even though that Terra said that she chose this and she wanted to be Slade's apprentice and she wanted to fight the Titans and she was glad they were gone, we could tell that that was all a lie. Not just to Slade, but to herself as well. Because deep down we knew that Terra actually saw the Titans as her only friends. But because of her actions, there was no way that things were going to go back to the way they were. And despite everything that she did and everything that she put himself and his friends through, Beast Boy was still there by her side, telling her that there's more to her than being Slade's pawn. And in her last moment when the city is threatened, Terra used all her power in order to stop the destruction of the city, which in the end turned her to stone. And that was the last we seen of her until the final episode, Things Change. Here we see Terra dressed as a normal high school girl while the Titans are facing another enemy in the city, but despite all his efforts, Beast Boy couldn't jog her memory of who she once was, or in this case, she doesn't want to remember. And this is what drives home the whole point of the episode and what gave it the name in the first place, that things change. Because throughout the episode, not only was Beast Boy trying to get Terra to remember who she once was, but to also remember their time together. Because even though that Terra has moved on with her new life, Beast Boy hasn't. He still hasn't forgotten her all this time, and that makes it all the more harder in the end when he finally learns the lesson. And in that moment, Beast Boy realizes that the girl he once remembered is long gone. This is the life that she chooses for herself. And I know there's still some part of her deep down that still cares about Beast Boy and still remembers him. But just like what Slade said, she doesn't want to remember him. And when you look back on Terra's life throughout the series, it's filled with nothing but tragedy. Being lied to, manipulated, turning on her friends. So when she finally gets a chance to start over, she chooses the life of a normal girl. At that point, Beast Boy finally realizes this, and he knows that the Terra that he knew was gone. Which leads to this final scene where Beast Boy runs into the light, and this episode ends along with the rest of the series. This scene shows that Beast Boy finally understands that things change for a reason, and even though that we do not like the change, we still have to move on for the better. And this is something that we have to learn in life, that things can change and people can change, and that's totally out of our control. But it's not always a bad thing. Change is constant, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It can sometimes lead to a new beginning. This is something that I had to learn like 2 years ago when I had friends that I'd known for the longest time. And not only did they did everything that they could to hurt me, but they did everything that they could to hurt my family. That's when I realized something had to change, and I made that call. And yeah, there are parts of me that wish that things could go back to the way they are, but I'm still happy with where I am right now, and I don't regret a single thing. Which is what I think the writers were trying to do with this episode. That this isn't the end of Teen Titans, this is just a symbol of a new beginning. Not just with the heroes that we know and love from the show, but also for us as the viewers as we go on this little journey called life. So yeah, despite what anybody else might be thinking about this, me personally, I think this is a solid end to the show. And if you still hate this episode, I mean, at least you still got trouble in Tokyo, I guess. But what are you guys' thoughts on this episode? Leave it down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.